This is a Poet Punch podcast. Hello, but I'm not sorry.
It's been a fucking
Oh
weird
man,
week.
my phone's already going off.
Leave that for now.
Right, audience. We are producing a lot of things at the moment, so
Right.
we have been having headache after headache after headache. But you know what has eased our pain?
Ironheart.
Ironheart. It's a good TV show. Now, when the first trailers came out, kind of looked a bit dog ass. The CGI was a bit off.
Actually, no, I don't think so.
I genuinely remember looking at it and going, nah.
No, the CGI was bad in Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Right. Yeah, no, the Ironheart CGI was weird in that one, for
It was
sure.
too smooth. The design didn't work for the suit. The movements weren't right.
Yeah.
And
in an otherwise quite pretty movie,
Yeah.
it's quite jarring to look at that. But the show
is great.
had a lot of time to cook.
They take too long.
Was supposed to release last year, right? Was it 2023?
2023.
Yeah, so was it supposed to,
It was shot, directly after Wakanda Forever.
Right. When was Wakanda Forever?
2022. End of 2022, I think.
I hadn't even met, Bri
No.
by that point. I remember, the first conversation I had with Bri being vaguely about Wakanda.
Yeah.
Anyway, right, yeah, but the show...
Yeah, because I first met Bride just after Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania came out. And it was very hard.
Time.
It was very hard trying to be like, look, I know it's bad, but I fucking love this movie.
I think that's you every time anyone talks about Ant-Man and the Quantumania.
Yeah. No, except for
because it is an uphill battle forever.
There's someone we know called Jess who I watched Quantumania with.
Masterpiece.
And we were like, well, that was fun. and it was. And I was like, man, I can't wait to see more of Jonathan Majors.
See, you guys watched it in the cinema, and
Yeah.
I was at the time working on 14-hour shifts.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't wait for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania to be on Disney Plus so I can watch it after a shift.
Yeah.
And then being profoundly disappointed and being like, what's going on? What's going on? Why is anything happening?
I think a lot of people, with that movie, you have to really think of it as, this is not an Ant-Man movie. This is a Kang movie with Ant-Man in it.
Yeah.
This is
so if you definitely because I remember watching Ant-Man 1, Ant-Man 2 being like, this is some of the best script work in Marvel at that time because it's having fun.
Yeah.
And then you get to Quantumania and it's like, maybe this is too much fun.
No,
maybe this is too much freedom.
Quantumania is if there had been more of a plan, Quantumania would have been an Avengers movie. It would have been the Age of Ultron of that era.
Right.
And there would have been a few more people involved.
That makes a lot. It does feel like the Age of Ultron of
in that it's what would have been what Age of Ultron is to Infinity War. It would have been that for Kang Dynasty.
Right.
And then it really feels like that was taken away from me. On a personal level, but it's fine.
It's fine because in the other universe, we fixed it.
It exists.
We personally fixed it, so we get a bit of closure there, right? Anyway, Ironheart,
so good,
so many good characters. Spoilers.
Wait. Let's hold off spoilers just for now.
But I'm just saying, coming soon.
Spoilers. We will have spoilers.
I may just occasionally say shit.
Yeah, but I think I love that Riri is not a perfect character in any way.
Oh, no, for sure, yeah.
And I'll talk about this a bit later when we get into spoilers, but I think the way that it feels like a constant... Do you know what it feels like? It feels like the bit in Uncut Gems when all of the gambling debts are starting to build up.
Yeah.
The show constantly feels like, oh my god, one thing after another is getting worse.
Which is going to get worse and worse and worse, yeah. One thing I did love about Riri as a character was the whole, why do you do this because I can, being genuinely unpacked and questioned.
Yeah.
And I love that from a creative standpoint.
Because nobody
in terms of it just being because there's so many times where I'm having to do different pitch documents or things, trying to attempt to sell something to a higher up than me, right?
Yeah.
And then that age-old question always being asked of like, why are you doing this? What meaning does it have within the wider context of the world? And sometimes you do just want to say because I can.
Yeah.
And
but it's
and
probably
obviously
also not the right answer as well. It's
a lot of the time, no, but like
it's that you don't want to get into what the right answer is.
Yeah, probably because you're trying to figure out what the right answer is while you're creating these projects.
So why did you make Freaky Mikey?
Because I can.
Because I can.
Genuinely was the reason.
Because I can, and because I want
also
to.
Tom will lap that shit up as well. He'll
it's
be
because
like,
I want to. I wanted to do it.
Yeah. Okay. First off,
Yeah.
wild that they got Eric Andre in and then killed him off after one episode.
Yeah. Okay, we're moving into we're gently moving into spoilers. But yeah, the Eric Andre being in it for one episode,
being canonized in the MCU, then killed off,
is great. Yeah, it's
and
great.
then barely given screen time, like maybe 10 minutes. None of it reflecting Eric Andre as a character, as a media personality at all. It's just I'm the hacker guy who's a bit passive. Dies. Funny as fuck in some ways to me.
Yeah. I kind of wish I'd seen the scene where he died because it would have been funny.
Yeah, he does. We don't even see it.
Yeah.
We don't even see him get killed. We're just like, he's dead, by the way.
Yeah. Okay, fully into spoilers now.
Fully into spoilers.
I want to talk about Obadiah Stane Obadiah Stane and his son, Ezekiel Stane.
Otherwise known as Joe McKidd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the young Han Solo is
otherwise
Obadiah
known
Stane's,
for Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, he's Obadiah Stane's son. Now, Obadiah Stane, if you don't remember, is the
Jeff
villain.
Bridges
is
from
the
Iron Man 1.
the villain from Iron Man 1.
Bald man.
Like, absolute fucking masterpiece to be like, okay, that's not necessarily a dangling thread, but being like, well, this guy probably has kids, right? And then being
especially because he probably fucks around. He's just as much of a playboy as Tony Stark in some ways.
And then the show taking the ending of Iron Man very seriously, in that like they established that Obadiah Stane dies in a plane crash as the cover story.
Which is consistent with what they said in Iron Man 1.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no,
like
because
they've taken that and then they've run with that instead of running with the like, well, eventually
it would come out that Obadiah Stane would blah, 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 blah. It's like, no,
people
that
would
was
forget,
kept under wraps. S.H.I.E.L.D. is very good at their job.
Yeah, and people would forget about him as well. Like, people just, once Iron Man's about, people aren't going to give a fuck about who the COO was.
Mm-mm.
So, like,
or if they do remember, it's the same way, like, some people might vaguely remember... Why am I blanking on his name? But like Rudy Giuliani, like the mayor of London, being like, not mayor of London, mayor of New York, being like, oh yeah, he was cool when 9/11 happened, and he was kind of like the figurehead of New York, and then being like, oh, but that time that he then ran as part of the Trump administration and lost all good graces as a lawyer. Let's not remember that bit. Anyway,
but like, I think. What do you think of the Hood being a rich kid?
So he's different from the comics in that he was quite a broke kid that basically got given a hood and then therefore became a vigilante criminal guy.
I quite like it.
I don't think they explored it that much.
I don't know.
I'm going to be honest. Like, it didn't feel... There are certain bits of the Hood's backstory where it did feel like they were having slivers of a character and it was mostly there to give him a flavour rather than to unpack it because it was more of Riri's story. I don't really have an opinion.
I quite like it because I have met people who are rich kids who are also like terrible, like proper like troublemaker kids.
Right.
And it is like that where, again...
They just get cut.
Well, it's not that they get cut off necessarily all the time, but it's like the mindset is that, well, this isn't my fault. Like, I'm just a kid, and it's like, well,
right,
to some degree, like it's definitely
on the dad. It's definitely on the dad for abandoning
the kid, but it's like it's also like you can't keep this as the excuse that you live the rest of your life by. But also
that situation as well is fascinating in terms of parents not being able to accept responsibility either. It's kind of I'd rather actually just cut ties with you and not even think about it.
The easy thing is to pretend you don't exist.
If we're really getting to spoilers, that's also such a good use of the power gap of losing a parent figure
Yeah.
and then having Mephisto come
I
along.
think the Mephisto stuff is great.
It's brilliant at the final point. A little bit of me is like, oh, it's great. That use of it is great, but I almost wanted more.
I want more.
I really hope they bring back Sacha Baron Cohen for a season 2.
Yeah.
And they really explore the new packs.
The thing that I caught that I thought was very interesting was that when he talks to Riri, he talks about how she keeps stumbling, and he uses the phrase "through no fault of your own," and that's not true. Riri fucks up because Riri fucks up. Like, it's Riri is human, but he uses like the way that she would like it to be. That it's like every time that
he's using her frustration as a person.
Riri gets kicked out of MIT because she's breaking the rules. She doesn't get kicked out of MIT because it's unfair. They give her as many advantages as they can. Yeah. And they let her get away with as much as they can. And then she crosses a line.
It's still a threshold of you've done too much.
And it's her fault. The same with Ezekiel Stain going to prison. It's her fault. Yeah. It's the same with a lot of the stuff. And the fact that the type of manipulation that he does, which I'm a big fan of in Devil characters, is the manipulation of being your friend rather than being like evil. Yeah, it's like it's an enabler type.
It's an enabler, but personality. But it's also kind of everyone knows that you're doing a pact with the devil at a certain point. Like, he is not someone that's going to pretend that he is not the devil. He is just saying, like, listen, I can make a contract with you. Gone. That's a world first Ironheart review sneeze.
Wait,
Certified Ironheart sneeze. Yeah. Certified copyright caption trademark sneeze.
Yeah.
Don't know what I'm talking about.
But yeah, I think that like he never outright says he's the devil because technically Mephisto isn't. But then
I think they do quite a good job of kind of implying that specifically the MCU version is the devil.
Yeah, it's closer
because obviously there was a whole thing with Marvel and whether or not you can make the literal devil a character. I think the way he phrased it was that he's been called some mean words.
Yeah.
Otherwise known as the devil in the Bible.
I'm a big fan of Marvel's whole thing about like gods in the afterlife and in general that answer being like, well, they're all true. And it's like, wait, what do you mean?
It depends on what it is.
And it's like, what do you mean that? No, they are all true. Greek mythology that nobody believes in anymore,
canon,
like is real.
Norse mythology, canon.
Yeah, it's all real.
Chinese dragons, real. Canon.
Yeah,
like
all religions are real at some point, including the different types of afterlives with Valhalla or with the
there's an element of truth to everything.
In Moon Knight, there's you see the Egyptian afterlife,
gods, and
Egyptian gods. So it makes sense that like a form of the Christian devil exists,
even if he's not called the devil. Yeah. And Sacha Baron Cohen, can I just also point out that is such a perfect casting in my mind. I was like, oh, they're going to do something good with this.
Yeah.
I really hope they're going to do something good with this. Even if he just becomes like the main TV villain and he's in Agatha and in Ironheart.
I knew he was going to be in it.
When?
Because
I only found out watching.
It was leaked years ago that he was going to be in it as Mephisto.
Wild.
And lots of people were like, well, that's another fucking obviously fake leak. But then the more... It was one of those ones where it was like, this is such an obscure pick. You know, if you were trying to make up a fake Mephisto casting, you would pick someone else for a fake casting.
I don't think it's that weird a call. In my head, it was like, oh, that makes sense.
I don't think...
he's played so many weird scumbag characters.
The types of people that make fake castings don't pick somebody...
They would go, Sacha Baron Cohen is known for Borat and Ali G, therefore he cannot be
it's not a believable fake
rather than
casting.
Sacha Baron Cohen is known for Sweeney Todd and Les Miserables and lots of other British scumbag characters.
And the guy from Grimsby.
Right, but like, but like he has definitely played evil or anti-hero adjacent or complicated roles. and he's really good at navigating between comedy and serious dramatical work. And I feel like if you are casting someone as Mephisto, you need someone who can be funny, and can also be dead fucking serious, especially if you're making a manipulative, like, bitch of a character. You need someone who can be like, ha 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 ha. No, well, back to business. We are going to.
Do you know what I'm hoping? If we don't get an Ironheart season 2, I really want like Young Avengers or something with where Mephisto is the villain of that show.
Yeah,
where Riri may be the in that.
Riri would be the in, and I feel like you can definitely. Riri doesn't even have to be the only in, because I feel like you can. Not that I finished Agatha, right? But they do mention Mephisto and Agatha all along.
Yeah, but not.
And there are uses, like the main way that they work out who Mephisto is kind of through the use of the witch coven under that that herbal shop, right?
I also thought that was very
great.
well done.
Yeah,
I think what they've figured out is that the magic stuff is interesting and has its own audience attached. I wouldn't be surprised if when word gets out about this, and people start hearing about it, that the Agatha All Along people come to watch Ironheart.
And would love Ironheart, to be fair. It's a great
especially
show.
The second half.
Especially like the same crowds that love Agatha All Along, I feel like would get along
And
with
I think
Ironheart.
they figured that out in the marketing because they pivoted very quickly from this is an Ironheart, this is an Iron Man type thing to, this is Iron Man plus Doctor Strange as a thing.
Yeah.
That I think...
And even if you don't pay attention to mainstay Avengers and MCU, all you really need to have watched to get Ironheart is like Iron Man 1 and maybe Wakanda Forever.
Yeah. And that's
really
and
like
even
most
then,
people have passively consumed
not,
Iron Man 1 at this point rather than
it's not such a tall order either. I like in terms of the shows that have come out, Daredevil Born Again required you to watch Daredevil, and that's a lot of content to watch. You can get away with not having watched Daredevil, but then a lot of people who didn't, I've seen, have been confused.
Yeah.
And I think the part of the problem with a lot of the confusion is that people nowadays, if they watch something when they haven't seen everything else that leads up to it,
they'll expect to have all the context provided.
No, they can't tell the difference between this is context that I don't have and I'm not supposed to know this, like who is Mephisto? Yeah. And this is something that I feel like I don't know, and I should know this. For example, who is Shuri? What is Wakanda? Yeah. Who is Obadiah Stane? Now, and I think where I understand the kind of criticism for the homework stuff is not in that doing the work is hard, because again, watching entertainment is not fucking hard. I think think the difficulty is that if you go in. If you go in not knowing, there's always a sense of uncertainty of, do I not know this because I'm not supposed to know this, and do I not know this and I'm supposed to know this? I think
this is part of a wider cultural problem where people love to overuse technical language. So you have it with therapy, with diagnoses, with lots of different things, but you also equally have it with
film. Yeah. And
people kind of think that because they've watched television, because everyone fucking watches television, they think they know every single ounce of detail about storytelling. And they just don't. And so instead of being like, I'm confused, I don't know why I'm confused, they try and fill in the gaps and go, I'm confused. It's because the writing is bad, not because...
I'm meant to be confused at this point.
Yeah, not because I'm meant to be confused at this point, or because... this show is not for me. I maybe should have watched something prior, which Disney Plus has probably tried to carefully curate them to getting to watch before they watch a certain thing based on that.
Disney Plus is very good at subtly pushing you towards the things that are needed before
even outside of the
MCU,
out. Just in terms of Alien, just in terms of even stuff that isn't actually their mainstay IP anymore. I don't think they have the license to 28 years later. I might be mistaken.
No, they have 28 days, but not...
They don't even have 28 days on Disney+.
Sorry, they only have
28 weeks.
Yeah.
And so even then they were like, if you're watching 28 years later, maybe you should watch 28 weeks.
Yeah, just in case. And I think
there's like one shot from 28 weeks in 28 years.
Yeah,
and I only realized it because I'd watched 28 weeks just before. It's like one sniper rifle thing in those archery montage shots.
Oh, right.
Is a 28 week shot anyway.
But anyway, the thing that I find most Disney Plus is probably the few successful ones to do this, where they because it's all under Disney, they know what they're releasing, and then they can push in their algorithm things that you may need to catch up on, maybe not. And like, if I'm honest, I think that they will be making more stuff like Daredevil Born Again and Ironheart, where they're making more self-contained narratives. What I've talked to you about this a bit. What I would like to see now. They've said that they're going to do more like multi-season content. So there probably will be what Daredevil is for at least season 2 and maybe a season 3.
Right.
I think that the next thing that they should do that follows that should be a Young Avengers or the Champions or whatever you want to call it type thing, where it's a multi-season story where you can have a rotating cast. You don't need to have, if one character's actor becomes a star, if Haley Steinfeld becomes too expensive, she can leave the team or she can not be there, and it's not as much of a question. But like, you keep the Young Avengers and you keep the ground level stuff on TV, and then you keep the big stuff, the space stuff. The multiverse stuff will be going away in a few years anyway, or at least it will be but when it comes to X-Men, the mutants, you keep that in the movies because that's where the money's to be made.
Or at least you keep the Omega Threat X-Men in the mainstay films, and then you get to explore the lower stake characters of because part of the beauty of mutants in world building in the X-Men franchise, in the Marvel franchise, is that they are just everyday ordinary people who have been kicked out of their homes. And there's almost like inbuilt drama.
Well, imagine a Young Avengers thing that comes out, probably will have to come out after Secret Wars, but like that has like Franklin Richards in it. He's a mutant, but like,
which one's Franklin Richards again?
Reed Richards and Sue Storm's son.
Is he a mutant?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
He's technically a mutant, but like, imagine having him on the team of Young Avengers.
Yeah,
and you can build up that kind of thing where you make it so that like...
And if you have characters like Franklin Richards, you then have the implication of maybe getting Pedro on for an episode.
And if he's too expensive, you don't necessarily... what DC should be doing is thinking of a proper Teen Titans... is thinking of a Teen Titans style thing that happens at the same time as with the DCU.
I think they might be a bit scared after the last Teen Titans thing.
What, the live action?
The live action.
Yeah. But you could do it as an anime.
Or at least
like,
I understand where James Gunn is going with a lot of this stuff. Like, you would not be having Guy Gardner if it wasn't James Gunn. You wouldn't be having those like picks where it's like the more obscure version of the otherwise mainstream. But DC has the luxury
of also having the animated stuff being a part of the same universe and established as part of the same universe. So they can go like, okay, this would be...
We're getting very off track, but I would say... If they ever did Teen Titans for DC, make it animation.
Yeah.
And then, because most people's nostalgia for Teen Titans is through the animated shows. So just have an in-canon version of the Teen Titans through the cartoon, and then occasionally do guest appearances via live action with the mainstay cast.
Yeah. But I think that's what you can do. And then you can have things like, so say if, Iman Vellani as Ms. Marvel doesn't seem to be getting more expensive in terms of casting. She doesn't seem to be in a lot of other stuff other than Miss Marvel, so she could probably be a mainstay of a Young Avengers type show.
Yeah.
Haley Steinfeld would probably get too expensive and would therefore not be in it as much, but you could then get like other characters from Agatha All Along, and you could get...
You've got What's-His-Face, right? The son of Wanda.
Yeah.
That could definitely be a character.
And, well, both of this...
I was going to talk more about Ironheart, I can't remember what, but let's...
But like the Magic Girl from Ironheart as well.
She's great, yeah.
Yeah, she could be in more.
Yeah. There was some stuff with Ironheart. I'm trying to remember exactly what. I think that the Hood's hire, like the casting choice for the Hood was a great choice.
Yeah.
just especially.
How did it end? There was an end credit scene with him getting a job somewhere, wasn't?
Oh, no, he wasn't getting a job. He said he needed some hard magic from the girl who is a sorcerer that works at the herbal shop, because. Yeah, so it's the kind of implication that he needs a fix now. Yeah, and he hasn't got the hood.
I wonder how many of these characters will be in Doomsday and Secret Wars. I wonder whether they won't
Wanda Maximoff.
Yeah, I don't think there will be as many people in Doomsday. Maybe Ironheart, but I could imagine Sacha Baron Cohen in Secret Wars. I can imagine him as one of the barons of, or one of the dukes, or whatever the fuck it is.
That would be amazing if he was one of the dukes.
In Battleworld. As a replacement for Mr. Sinister or something. That
was the thing. So I would love Mephisto, but I would also love Mr. Sinister as a way of doing a cold introduction to some of the mutants, or establishing that there are mutants that that aren't just reference points from the old movies.
But that's what will come of the universe that spawns after Secret Wars.
But that's a great way of introducing Mr. Sinister as a character in a no stakes environment.
Yeah.
And then exploring him in further detail, post reset.
I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Sinister ends up being the next big bad of the next saga of stuff.
Even if he's just a TV villain,
I wouldn't.
And then,
do you know what I wouldn't be surprised of? I wouldn't be surprised if they're eventually building towards some sort of Days of Future Past-esque thing with it, because it's the mutant saga.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're pushing towards that type of thing, or like a Civil War 2 or something, where the mutants are a real part.
I really hope that they do. So. Every time we have talked about Avengers versus X-Men, I've always sounded genuinely frightened by the way you think it's going to happen, which is just going to be the main way they introduce the X-Men.
No,
which was because this was all before Doomsday casting, right? I would love it if they actually revisited Avengers versus X-Men and then had that be the end game of that new arc.
Yeah, I think there would be.
That's the calling, that's the final point, and it would be a Dark Phoenix story at that point.
I actually don't know if it would be the final point. I think it would probably be their Civil War of that phase, which we kind of haven't really had, because we've not had in this saga, in the multiverse saga, we've not really had a moment of
crossover for anyone, really.
for many people.
Yeah, it's been small crossovers, little indents.
Yeah, and
even the biggest crossover that I can think of that happened is technically not part of that. It's still Phase 4, and it's Spider-Man and Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
That's the closest I can think of.
Multiverse, or the Thunderbolts as a concept. But Thunderbolts is kind of really the lead into Avengers. Yeah. And, we just still don't know.
And even then, they're not doing crossovers of big characters. They're not doing the equivalents of Captain America and Iron Man of the time. They're doing that's that character from this, and that's that character from this, and if you pair them all together, compelling group.
Yeah. And I have also heard I've heard some interesting rumours.
This is code for Tom spends too much time on Threads.
I do.
And needs to touch
grass. Not only that, but I've heard some interesting things.
Outside of Threads?
Yes.
Big.
Yes.
Big, huge.
I've heard some things about after Secret Wars, and I mean, obviously, one of the big things is that this is true now.
Fact.
The the director on Thunderbolts is doing the next X-Men film.
Oh, hello.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I remember hearing about this.
Yes.
Because I read an article about it recently, and for some reason, the guy who was running the X-Men animated series, the recent one, had an anger fit about it.
Yeah.
He really did not appreciate, for some reason, the Thunderbolts director being the guy.
I think he thought that it would have been a through line to him getting to direct an X-Men, and then
he kind of lashed out.
But he was taken off of that. He was taken off of X-Men 97 after the first season. And it's clear that he's not been taken off of that for his politics or for his writing, because the writing is good on that show. The show is very good.
Right.
It's clear that it is because of his behavior. So
what is his politics?
Well, obviously very left-leaning.
Yeah, I was thinking, because the way you would... Usually I think, it's going to be someone who's right-leaning. I was like, how can you be right-leaning and do anything X-Men
I think he...
How is that even
From what I
attainable?
understand, he would send reference photos for art that was meant to be like, oh, use this pose and this pose. But he would just send like almost nudes to people as like stuff where it's like, this isn't technically harassment, but it's probably like, you should not be...
This is borderline, this is an HR problem rather than
and part of it is that like, that seems to be, for at least my understanding of it, one of the reasons why is that he was perhaps inappropriate rather than
or
him being bad
the
at
light.
job.
Yeah,
it's a John Barrowman situation rather than
rather than like a Weinstein situation. Yeah.
So X-Men is probably one of the up and coming movies.
I don't, because because the guy that did Thunderbolts, is he also the guy that did Everything Everywhere All at Once? Or is he a different guy?
I don't know.
He did something that was somewhat indie before he did Thunderbolts. I can't remember what it was.
He did I think he did one of the A24. The person who did the editing was the one who worked on Beef.
Right.
And he was something else, but I can't be bothered to look it up.
But like,
we do a lot of research on
I'm
this
like,
show.
that's we really crunch the numbers or whatever.
But anyway,
to me, that's great directorial choicing for an X-Men.
I think so
project.
too.
That's like someone who can think outside the box, but understands the mainstream constraints of this project.
The fucking action, the action in Thunderbolts, I think is like,
It's not just the action in Thunderbolts. The reason why Thunderbolts works so well to me is that it's a fusion of all the good things.
Yeah.
It is a fusion of action and low stakes and high stakes characterization.
Yeah.
They understand like the nuance of someone like Yelena, and they get the humor of Yelena, where it's like, I'm gonna laugh through the pain.
Yeah.
And how that's slightly different from her dad's version of that.
Yeah.
And all of that, and all of the like little family complexities plus wider complexities plus the interlinking plus action. You need someone like that to understand how to do successful analogies with X-Men.
Yeah.
Because X-Men can either be the perfect analogy for the right concepts or an absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
Like, this is vaguely about this concept.
Yeah.
This is vaguely about civil rights, or vaguely about like gay liberation, or vaguely about AIDS. It's like, focus on your point and get it. Yeah.
But then like looking beyond X-Men, one of the next two.
This
movies,
is an Ironheart review, by the way.
Yeah. But the next two like movies seem to be most likely Black Panther 3.
Yeah.
With Denzel Washington in it. Not as T'Challa, but as the villain.
I saw someone saying that Denzel Washington was going to be Dormammu at one point. I was losing my mind.
No.
Because that's Benedict Cumberbatch already.
Yeah,
Also, okay, back to Ironheart.
Okay.
I loved that they referenced Dormammu, and they referenced Obadiah Stane, and they referenced like the Hood with Mephisto, and all of these different things where I feel like they understood how to do a self-contained show while closing or referencing
other
things like threads that haven't necessarily been like left, but are worth picking at, and therefore like
establishes that like Dormammu is not dead; he's still around.
Yeah,
it's still
he's
possible.
Just a bit more pathetic, and he's someone to compare to Mephisto, and then it gives more context to who Mephisto is, because it gives more of a, this isn't just the devil from the Bible. This is a kind of entity that's similar to Dormammu that you've seen through Doctor Strange, and through the magic
and
stuff,
and who operates on somewhat similar type of magic in terms of like offering you a gift in exchange for a terrible price.
Equally does contracts. Dormammu have come to bargain. Mephisto have come to bargain. It kind of it gives a passive understanding of the rules of this new character, where the rules are otherwise this is the devil.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to work with. This is the devil within the context of what you've seen previously in this wider world.
Yeah. But
I just love the world building.
Anyway.
Anyway.
The other movie that I'm hearing stuff about being the next one. Now, this might not be true.
Huge.
Is a second Fantastic Four film
Has hit the
coming. Yeah. but coming like straight out of
Secret Wars.
Secret Wars.
Oh.
Maybe not the first movie that comes in. Probably Black Panther will be the first movie that comes in.
I would actually love that, because if it's
them
Fantastic Four adjusting to the new 616 world.
And that being part of it, especially if it's them then having to deal with like the new comical Doctor Doom that's not like, or something like I feel like the smart move is to, by the end of Secret Wars, show that there is a Doctor Doom still in this universe, because people will be very upset if like Doctor Doom is a one and done villain.
Yeah,
but like have him not be Robert Downey Jr. or have him be in a position where like we never have to take his mask off again.
Yeah,
and therefore
the mask is now fused to his body.
And therefore it does not have to be Robert Downey Jr. doing the voice. We could get the guy who seems to be doing all of the Iron Man stuff for What If, or you can get someone else and it doesn't affect anything. But like doing a Fantastic Four where they have to adjust to the new universe, especially if they're like one of the few who remember. That's a
great outsider point as well.
Yeah.
Like it's a great outside perspective on the new world, because you're already strangers to a new world of 616, and also dealing with the fact that reset like on top of it,
that like your old home is still dead.
Yeah,
is an interesting thing of being like, well, the world that we lived in was perfect, and we worked so hard to get it that way.
This isn't even how Secret Wars does it, where it's like, oh, this is a reusing of the material of the old world and the rebirthing of the new world through the old world's stuff. No, our universe died. Yeah. And now...
Yeah, because like, you assume that...
We're really not talking about Ironheart at this point, but it's fine.
No, because I think that then...
Go on, how does this link back to Ironheart?
What I think that means is that if you can keep the Fantastic Four involved... Yeah. Then I think that you can do Young Avengers very quickly after that with Nathaniel Richards.
You almost have that one movie, and then you have the TV show giving the present day context.
Yeah, because
you have like the cold open, then you have here's the world.
I think the best way to do it is that you only have a limited number of characters who can remember that the world has been changed. Yeah. So that you don't have to deal with like the endgame blip of it all, where you have to have like for the next year and a half of characters being like, man, it's still really weird that we're living in a different world than before. Yeah. Whereas like you can have it that like, you know, I think that the only people who really should know are maybe the Fantastic Four.
That would be really interesting if it was the Fantastic
I think that they would be I think that it makes sense that like Reed Richards and like his family being the only... Now, realistically, if they're doing the Secret Wars thing, Johnny Storm and the Thing are not going to be in Secret Wars. Well, they will be, in that Johnny Storm will be the sun, and the thing will be the big wall. Yeah. But like, and I hope they do that, because it
was great.
It's an awful it's an awfully brilliant reveal. The idea that like Johnny Storm is alive and is just the sun.
But it also genuinely shows weakness to Doom as character at that time in the comic as well. Yeah. Where it's like, okay, so his solution to the arrogance of people like Johnny Storm and the rebellion of the Thing was to turn them into these constructs. And not only that, but he needed an excuse to turn them into these constructs because he needs the sun. Yeah. And he needs a way to make sure that the entire world is not rampaged by ravenous zombies.
Yeah. Amazing.
So it really like already fundamentally deconstructs that he is not God, because he has had to come up with quite on the fly rational, like sketchy, the world could crumble type solutions to these problems. Yeah. Love that. None of this is about Ironheart though.
But okay.
They got Shea Coulee as the hacker. She's great. Love that. Great choice. That was lovely. There was also I loved the
group the
group
the
was
heist
fun.
Group,
and I think it was just enough of context.
I think they did enough. They did enough just to make them like these are not necessarily bad people, but they're not good people either. Yeah. And then when they're hunting Riri, they're kind of scared. They're a bit scary in terms of like you wouldn't want to have to deal with this number of people coming after you to try and kill you. Yeah. But they're also not scary enough that it's like, yeah, they could all just take on the Hood and kill him. Yeah. Like, they're still scared of him. And I've seen some people criticize the fact that they feel like the Hood is not that of intimidating of a character, and that Riri really should in the Ironheart suit should have been able to like one tap him, but I just don't think so. I think that the
guy bent bullets in front of her.
Yeah, because like the
suit that he wears is an indestructible, confusing fabric that seems to be nuke proof.
Yeah,
and if you are someone who is a rational scientist who does problem solving in real time, you are naturally going to go, I don't know how to solve this problem yet.
Yeah.
Let me figure it out. Oh, this is now a race against time.
Yeah.
You're not going to just be like, fuck it, I guess I'll try and hit him, and then get killed by a bullet that can
What did
bend.
you think of the Ezekiel Stain being like body controlled? I quite like that.
I love that because I think it played into his naivety as a character as well. It felt completely appropriate that he was kind of having a lash out moment where he, because of his whole needing to feel control after having lost everything, immediately jumps on this Hood thing, immediately goes along with the plan, thinks that he understands everything and thinks that he is more intelligent than the Hood, gets fucked over in the process.
Yeah.
That seems like it just seems like a logical one-to-one like through point of that character.
I hope we see him again.
They're definitely implying. I think if they do a season 2 of Ironheart, he is more of a villain.
I think that the problem that I have,
especially because he is the villain in the
problem
comics
I have
for
with
Ironheart,
it is that there's the possibility that there is no Ironheart season 2.
There is that possibility, but I really hope that there is.
Think about
season
how
2.
long it took for them to release Ironheart to begin with.
Yeah,
several years. This could if this had come out 2 years ago, or
there would have been plenty of time to do another season.
I would have preferred that this had come out around the same time as Deadpool and Wolverine. I think that could have been a very strong.
That's what I'm saying. I told you that when I watched the first 3 episodes.
Yeah,
I was like, this would have been an amazing pairing in that year for 2024, where it's like you have the grounded character show,
and then you have the fantastical,
silly movie,
shitpost movie,
Like you have one very real actions have consequences show,
and one
I Am Deadpool movie,
all
bases covered in 1 year.
Yeah, it should have been
right. Like stupid.
It's funny because I think what people are going to find is that this year is the best that Marvel has been in. It's not a great start. All right. It wasn't a great start.
Fantastic Four, I'm really hoping it's good.
But like, think about it. If you exclude Captain America from it, you've got Thunderbolts. You've got Daredevil Born Again. You then have Ironheart. You then have like Fantastic Four. And then there's even like Wonder Man at the end of the year. Which like won't be amazing, but it will be fun.
It'll be fun,
And it has Ben Kingsley in it, so it's like going to be good. It's going to be funny. Like it'll be good, and then next year will be very barren. I think it will be Spider-Man.
It will be very barren because it'll be the implication of
Then,
oh wait, no, that's the year after. Stupid joke.
But the idea of like it's going to be just Spider-Man and Doomsday, and then Daredevil Born Again season 2. Maybe the Vision Quest stuff, which is
the Vision Quest stuff.
So there's a.
Oh, is this the Deadpool?
No, so
what is this?
The
fuck you.
So WandaVision, Agatha All Along, and then Vision Quest have been built as like a trilogy of series that are like tangentially related. So WandaVision is about Wanda and Vision's family creating Tommy.
Right.
And,
Agatha All Along
is about Tommy trying to find. Well, it's about Tommy and Billy. I can't remember which way round it. I think it's Billy Maximoff, and then it's trying to find Tommy, and then Vision Quest is actually about finding the other twin that has been placed in the world, and where is he, and using that white Vision recreation robot thing,
right?
So bringing back Paul Bettany, and Vision Quest is meant to be the last TV show that has movie characters in it for a while.
Interesting.
Because it has Paul Bettany. But they're meant to be moving away from having the A-list or
the A-list come
B-list
to do
come and do a show. That's the last time they're going to do
the
that.
format worked only in 2020, really.
Yeah.
When you kind of had that was the middle ground for the production pipeline of that time. That was why that was ideal.
I think it worked.
And
it made their money for them because it made people buy
Disney Plus. Yeah.
I think that now that people
especially
already
for
have
like
Disney
the UK
Plus,
audiences where like Disney Plus was coming a year later, like the main sales point for Disney Plus
was The Mandalorian.
And then The Mandalorian was kind of old news by the time it came to the UK.
Yeah, because I forgot that we didn't have The Mandalorian. We didn't have access to Mandalorian for like a really long time. Wild.
Choices were made. And then the pandemic solved problems in some ways. Where they were like, we need to release Disney Plus to the UK right now because we have no other method of releasing shit.
I'm happy where we're at. I'm like,
it was just a great show overall.
Yeah.
And I feel like some of that was to do with Ryan Coogler being an exec. I feel like Ryan Coogler is winning this year as well. Because he's had Sinners and he's had...
God, that Black Panther budget, that Black Panther 3 budget's going to go way fucking up.
He has had like the best of both worlds this year because he has the exec producer credit on this. So it is further reminding everyone that he is great within mainstream productions when he needs to be. And then he has also made the biggest independent own IP movie of this year. Fantastic.
It is funny.
He has essentially redirected the entire industry into fucking remembering that new IP is a
seeing
thing.
how much Disney is like milking Ryan Coogler's name on stuff. Like it's like who knows who I don't even know who
Ryan Coogler was just the cool guy in the background for Black Panther, where people did not care. They cared about Chadwick Boseman. They cared about all the famous black actors on screen.
Who's the showrunner on Ironheart? No fucking clue.
No fucking clue.
But like I know who the producer is
job.
because it's
right.
And it's the same thing with this. There's an animated show, The Eyes of Wakanda, which is meant to be like.
Is that also executive producer Ryan Coogler?
Yeah, but
you also tell that from the poster.
It says it on those trailers.
Right. Yeah.
It's I think it's a 3-parter that's meant to show different eras in Wakanda with the different Black Panthers throughout history.
Right.
This is where I'm more skeptical about Ryan Coogler's involvement in stuff because I think that he is in his contract when he made Black Panther 1 and definitely by the time he got to 2, where it's like anything that has to do with
the stories of
Wakanda, I am producer on this, whether or not I'm involved in it, because he definitely doesn't seem to know anything about if they're going to make another Ironheart series. He seems to not be in massive amounts of contact with Marvel except for Black Panther 3.
I wonder how much of that is that he is now quite a busy man. And he, isn't exactly.
I think that Marvel is going to pay him a lot of money to do whatever next.
Yeah, but it might be more of a thing of if he gets asked a question on a red carpet.
Yeah,
he might not know.
Yeah,
because he is around and doing stuff quite a lot, but his team might know. His team might have an answer to that question. It's just that the way things work is that you're going to get an answer on red carpet or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I feel like a little bit of that is more than just the marketing of executive producer Ryan Coogler. I think a little bit of that is that Ryan Coogler knows how to tell stories and therefore does direct things that I feel like he's the kind of person that when he is involved on a project, he's usually earned that credit in some way, shape or form. So it's not just a placeholder executive producer credit. It is
no, but I just wonder. Yeah,
I might be right for stuff like Eyes of Wakanda.
I just want to be cautious about like assigning him the credit for this type of thing when like somebody else is the showrunner of this.
Somebody else has been there day to day, making the calls.
Somebody else
scripts, doing all of the great shit.
What I would say is that like Riri's character in Ironheart, it feels a bit different from her character in. Now, the beginning is the same in that she's clearly like.
I did not care for her in Wakanda Forever, but she is now one of my favorite characters in the TV show.
That's why I'm like, I want to give credit to
whoever wrote her to be more personal.
Yeah. And whoever came up with the brilliant idea of being like, this could be a weak character that is just always right and has to prove herself that she is who she says she is. And instead they were like, no, she's brilliant, but like her flaw is that she thinks she's more brilliant than she is, even though she is brilliant.
I don't think that's her
think
flaw.
it is. No, I think, and then she doesn't trust others. She thinks that she's so brilliant that she doesn't trust anyone to.
I don't agree with that. I don't think that's what her character is.
Right up until
That's really interesting. You have that view, because I have the view of she is brilliant. She overworks herself to a fault that then gets her into trouble. She overthinks her problems. So I think her problem is more that she is so brilliant to a detriment.
I think that's part of the same thing, though. Yeah. Is it the idea that I think that when you are brilliant, you instinctively think that nobody can help you.
Yeah, you lose the capacity to trust in others. You lose the capacity.
And I think that the moment where she asks her mum for help is very real, because it's like the type of help that she doesn't understand, that like her mum can't help her with the building of the suit in that way.
Her mum knows the local wizard.
Well, it's not even that. It's that her mum doesn't know how to help her build an Iron Man suit. Her mum knows how to look after her, and that's the thing that she can do.
Yeah,
and like her friends are there to support her, because she will not support herself, like mentally, emotionally, that kind of thing. And that's where the support of the other characters comes in. That plus magic, but like...
and magic.
Yeah. Anyway, Ironheart good.
Ironheart very good. Ironheart made brilliant casting choices, brilliant narrative choices. Fantastic all around, right? And it was just fun.
Yeah.
It was fun and told a compelling story and featured
I wish there was more.
Yeah, genuinely, I wish there was more. Although I'm content with it being a 6-episode structure. I think it would have been weaker if it was a 10-episode plot.
I think I need a second season. I need to see the fallout of like the new best the best friend being resurrected instead of the AI. Like people who have adjusted to the fact that, oh, she's dead, but like this AI is kind of like
even
her.
The AI is kind of like, that's still closure, because you can accept. I saw something graphic where my friend was shot.
Yeah.
But I still kind of can hang around with my friend.
Yeah.
Versus, I've just brought this person back from the dead.
Yeah. I've also seen a lot of people be like, man, can we trade the real Natalie for the AI one? She was way better. Like, I gave more of a fuck about the AI than the real one. And I think that that's probably going to be, like, part of it is that, like, again, there will be more, there's just more stuff to do. We also, we still don't actually know if Riri accepted the terms. We never saw... It's implied very heavily that she accepted Mephisto's offer,
but we also don't know what the offer was. But we also
don't know what the offer was for.
Yeah,
we also don't know whether the resurrection of her friend was anything to do with that offer at all. It could be a thing that he threw in because it was funny to him. His offer was to make her like great. That doesn't seem to involve her best friend being alive.
Yeah.
So, I think it's like there's more questions to ask about the Mephisto thing.
Yeah, no, that was a great ending. If they don't do a second season with that ending, though,
but if they don't do a second season, they need to have him be the villain of
something.
Young Avengers.
They need to continue Ironheart's story and Mephisto's story, and even the Hood story and Zeke's.
A Doctor Strange thing or something could work.
I think the problem with if Ironheart doesn't get a season 2, is that it really is not just like 2 characters that need their strings like everything closed.
Yeah,
it is so many of the characters that were great.
Yeah,
like Ezekiel as a character.
Yeah,
is very much now tied to the Ironheart character. You can't really get an Ezekiel story outside of Ironheart.
Well, apparently he was meant to be linked to Brave New World. Interesting. So before the Giancarlo Esposito character existed, there was the group called the Serpent Society that were meant to be these like tech augmented people that had like similar things that Ezekiel Stane has, with like the tech infused into their biology.
Right.
And that was meant to be a group that was started by Ezekiel Stane, because that show was meant to have come out way
earlier, yeah.
And that the delay of Ironheart meant that they had to change all that.
I wouldn't have even been happy with that. I'm going to be honest. Well, I wasn't happy with Brave New World.
Yeah, but I wonder how much of Brave New World was changed because it wasn't working, and how much of it was changed because other projects had to be moved around. And that's what worries me about Spider-Man Brand New Day, is that Spider-Man Brand New Day begins filming like this month. It comes out in a year. It comes out in July next year, supposedly.
Tight window, yeah.
And I don't think it's like Doomsday where they can push it back a couple of months.
Because the contractual reasons for Sony.
Yeah. Now, if they can get away with it being a smaller scale, Thunderbolts. Wait, now before you panic though, Thunderbolts was shot with about that same amount of time.
Yeah.
Originally, given to it.
Yeah.
And so was Fantastic Four began filming January last year. Now that's not quite a year, that's a year and a half, but if you assume that the new Spider-Man movie would be a smaller movie than what Fantastic Four is going for,
yeah,
and with people like the Punisher and things like that involved, it seems like it will be smaller.
Yeah,
I think it's doable. If they can get filming done in 3 months.
I wonder, okay, I 100% agree with the small stakes thing. I think I'm going to say one point and then we maybe should start wrapping up because outside context, a bit worried about paperwork with the film that we're doing.
Yes.
But I think going from the largest stakes that Spider-Man has ever been in to a very small stakes project, I hope that works, but I can see an audience lash out.
My thought
because it's kind of like they literally had the biggest fan service movie of all time.
Yeah, but I think that's the promise of the ending of No Way Home.
Yeah,
is that return to small scale Spider-Man.
Right, but how many people took that as that?
I think
that is the intended purpose.
But then I think that's why I think they're throwing in people like the Punisher and things like that. Is that they're doing that so that you're like, oh, John Bernthal, amazing, but not. But then you're keeping the grounded state. Now again, you need to finish Daredevil Born Again because the state of New York after that show is
I've
very
heard things
different.
About people pairing Daredevil Born Again with what's going on in Thunderbolts and it being funny with the context.
It is,
but I don't know any more than that.
But the
I don't know what happens in Daredevil.
Without spoiling too much, it's essentially like a police state. New York becomes a police state.
Interesting.
By the end of the show.
Interesting.
With Punisher dressed up police.
Ah.
Which is why I'm telling you to fucking watch the show.
Yeah. No, I am intrigued. I've got a lot going on.
Yeah. But that, I can't see them avoiding that setting with Spider-Man. And I think
especially with the casting of John Bernthal.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Daredevil Born Again doesn't fully resolve that fact, and that Daredevil Born Again is about him assembling essentially the Defenders again.
Yeah. Or even if they're just going for the Deadpool plus Wolverine Loki approach.
Yeah.
Where it's the world building of this TV show happens to be some of the framework of this film.
Yeah.
That logic.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that being the case.
We also know that they are doing...
You can still be a guy that just wants to watch a Spider-Man
We also know that
movie.
they're doing a Punisher special look as well. So an hour-long TV movie type thing.
Ooh.
That's set presumably set in between. But again, that's more to come from later on, I guess.
And not about Ironheart.
Yes.
In our Ironheart review.
But anyway, Ironheart is good. It's so good we've yapped about it
conclusion.
Fucking good.
Good.
And we've yapped about it for a year pretty much.
A year.
Yeah, an entire hour.
That's what it says on the Zoom pod track. It says 1 year.
Yeah.
It does not say 58 minutes and 30 seconds. It says 1 year.
It's definitely not that.
Shut the fuck up.
All right, that's it. Goodbye.